Well, as you go into year number five, five, I don't know, so 4. But do you feel like you have a program now? You know, the word program is really important. Do you feel like it's a program?
I think we're moving that way. This season's going to really help. Just to maybe show the fact we went to back-to-back bowl games, won last one. I don't think that necessarily means you're a program. However, I do see building blocks that are in place. You know, the word sometimes is overused, but you talk about culture. I think our expectations are significantly different. Players' buy-in has changed. The physical composition of our football team has changed too. You know, we look different than what we did a couple years ago, and so you know, our real goal is to return Cowboy football back to national prominence. And once that step occurs, then I think you've got a program, and so we're making strides that way.
It was nice too. I mean, I know early on, you know, there were some thin years and there were a lot of expectations, and preseason stuff means nothing, and it matters what you do on the field. But you're picked second. I think it's the highest Wyoming's ever been picked in this league in the preseason. You know, you got the Defensive Player of the Year again, and Winger. You got 3 all-conference guys. Does that mean anything? You know, again, it's preseason stuff, but does that mean anything?
I think those accolades are a residual, Robert, of what transpired last year, and that's a body of work of those players. You know, I'd rather be finish first and pick last than pick first and finish last. But I do think how we're being perceived around our conference has changed. I think now we're being competitive, and some of those are noted by whether it's players that are being noted or where our football teams have.
Coach, I think 2 years ago you said you felt like you were a little behind schedule last year. I think you said you were ahead of schedule this year. Are you on schedule? Or
I think we are.
Okay.
You know, the type of football team that I had envisioned as a head football coach at Wyoming would be one that would be noted, you know, as first of all a tremendous defense, a physical team that would be able to control the football up front, certainly exploit and do some things in the passing game, and be pretty explosive in special teams. Elements to make those things occur certainly are players. I think our personnel on defense is significantly better than we've ever had since I've been a head coach. We've got to make strides as far as running the football. I think we can make strides in special teams this year. So I think we're on par right now with where I thought we'd be.
Did the media hoopla over Josh Allen, which was obviously earned, does that benefit the team in terms of being used to the spotlight? I mean, obviously now you have the defense is getting a lot of attention.
Right.
Has that helped those guys kind of focus and not get lost in the spectacle?
Well, the 2 guys that we brought here, I think, you know, Andrew's been here many years, but Carl, I think those guys have really been mature on the media exposure, really what that means. And I think, without question, Josh really handled things well last year. He always represented our school well, and that set a pretty good example. I know our brand penetrated parts of our country we never were in before, and a lot of it had to do certainly the on-field production, but Josh's ability. And so, you know, he was a great leader and is a great person, and set a great example for these guys. And so I think the template is there. I know our SID department is much more mature now than what it was before. I'm going to tell you what, last year, guys, Tim and I it got to the end, I was tired. I know that, so I think we're pretty well schooled.
Coach, you have a very unique perspective in that you turned NDSU into such a national dynasty that's continuing, and that obviously got that school a lot of attention. How would you compare it to the extra attention that came in the past year with having a guy like Allen on the team?
Well, the numbers don't lie. I mean, the marketing service that was rendered was $167 million. What occurred at NDSU was a body of work of many years stacked together. We're still in the, I don't want to say the infant stage of that, but it's our hopes that you know, we can be a real asset to our university. I know our enrollment is up, but those are all things that really help build a community, and our community is really our state. And so how we play and how we represent our school and our state's important.
Do you see any parallels between these first few winning seasons here and kind of the beginning of your turnaround at North Dakota State?
The team is starting to look like, you know, not the we play in a different league, but the team is starting to look and practice like I thought. And it was interesting when Scotty Hazelton came back. He even said, he goes, "Yeah, she seemed kind of like old times." And I was like, "Yeah, well, you missed some of the fun times getting there." You know, we're starting, and that's an encouraging. The arrow's pointing up. I know that.
When you mentioned running the ball better, and we've talked about it. You know, you got some unproven running backs, but you know, obviously the line needs to block better.
Oh.
I mean, so what's the biggest emphasis as you go into camp? Is it finding that running back or two guys? Is it the guys up front and getting them established? What needs to happen first and foremost to get that going?
First and foremost, we got to get our 5 guys blocking the right guys and moving the line of scrimmage, and that's easier said than done. There's not a coach around here who doesn't say, "I want to run the football. I want to run the football." A lot of times, the commitment to doing that, and that's hard, and we're committed to doing that, and that starts with making sure, you know, our center's right, our guards are right, and the tackles, a fullback, the tight end. I spent a lot of years coaching defense. You play Josh Allen and he throws a 60-yard post. You take the safety to your corner over the side, you pump him up. The other 10 guys don't feel so bad. You run the ball down somebody's throat. You got 11 guys that just got demoralized. And for us, over the long haul, that's where we want to be. And that starts up front, and then it stays with the mentality of the tailback. Okay, make a couple guys miss, but run over some guys. And
just to follow up to that, I know, you know, like in the spring, and you know, Scott likes to experiment with guys and move guys around and stuff, and it's probably a good time for it. In camp, is it going to be more, maybe not as much experimenting, but you know, try some guys, but try to find those 5? Will there be as much of that, I guess, in camp?
Not as much shuffling around. We're going to have probably more physical work in fall camp than what we've had, though. With those guys, we're gonna get after them. We got after it this. We got some guys hurt this spring, so there's not going to be as much musical chairs. I think we got what we got. Now it's going to be getting after them.
With the running backs and, you know, Trey being out at least part of the year, do you see the incoming guys, Theo and Bigelow, you know, maybe having
Bigelow, Rio,
an impact on?
They're all going to get a look.
Yeah.
You know, 2 of our running backs won't be involved. Kellen Frey said, and the other guys are going to get out there and get a lot of reps. However, after the first 2 weeks, those 2 guys are going to be cleared.
Quarterback position, how did it end up coming out of spring ball, and how is it going into fall camp?
Right, Tyler Vanderwald is our starter, but unlike last year, we had an entrenched starter. We're going to evaluate Nick Smith as a guy that you know, has done some good things. We looked at it. Coach Vegan made a recommendation, which I endorsed, to make Tyler our starter. Tyler has not played in games. He redshirted, but he was a talented player out of high school. He's smart, he's athletic, he handles the offense well, and that's how he won the job.
So is that Kellen and Trey, you said, will both be cleared?
Yes.
In fall camp? Or
yep, after 2 weeks
after
of fall
2
camp.
weeks?
So
okay.
They're going to start, which is all news to me. I thought Trey was going to be not even available this year, and he was ahead of schedule. So we feel like they'll be cleared in 2 weeks. They'll start fall camp in a red jersey.
Okay. And you mentioned Rio is running back kind of where you guys anticipate trying him at?
Right. Rio, Theo, and Bigelow.
The hype over Wyoming last year was Josh, and this year is all about the defense. But Andrew's, you know, quick to point out that the defense won a lot of football games last year.
Andrew's quick to point out a lot of things.
Yeah.
I appreciate him.
But it's kind of weird that, you know, last year Josh was, you know, the guy, and now it's all about the Wyoming defense and being one of the top defenses in the country, and that is the calling card.
Yeah, what I think occurred was, you know, with Josh's performance the previous year, going into the year. That's what everybody was really focused on. The quarterback was such a primary position. Andrew's not far off. I mean, if you look at, you know, our points per game on defense, and you look at the field position, and then also then you look at the number of takeaways that the defense created, that had a big impact on that 8-win. You know, in our bowl game, I think we got 8 turnovers, and you know, you can win a lot of games doing that.
How much do you guys have to account for maybe like turnover luck? And I mean, I know you got to be good to force 38 turnovers, but some of that has to be, you know, good fortune. Just kind of.
Some of it is good fortune. We think we created a lot of that good fortune. Though there's athletic guys that have explosive bodies. They're playing with confidence and they're playing really aggressive. And when you get that formula in there, you can really do some special things.